Welcome back. It's time for another mobile app review, one of those ones that pays you to play games. And today we will be looking at Mistplay. If you haven't checked out the first episode in this series covering Just Play, feel free to do so. That's the one I use the most and like the best, but it's not without its learning curve. Mistplay is a highly rated, very popular app of this get paid to play formula. Perhaps the most popular, although I won't make that declaration for fear of citation needed filling up the comment section. A quick overview. You play games to earn GXP, which is tracked through Mistplay, not through the actual game. You earn enough GXP and you reach the next checkpoint. Checkpoint, in quotes. This is the terminology that Mistplay uses. It is not an in-game checkpoint, and it doesn't behave like most uses of the word I've ever come across. For example, if you're 50% of the way to your next checkpoint, you can exit, come back tomorrow, next week, next month, and still be 50% of the way to that next checkpoint. The checkpoints are still very relevant, however. Reaching a checkpoint earns you units, the in-app currency you use to convert into gift cards or PayPal redemptions. You'll notice early on that you'll fly through the checkpoints, but after not too long, you'll also notice that each checkpoint takes longer and longer to get to. The GXP required to reach each next checkpoint grows fast. Some might even say it escalates exponentially, although I haven't done the math to confirm this. Because of this aspect, Mistplay indirectly encourages you to download more and more apps, so your earning per minute played is still relatively economical, which is a bummer if you ever really like a specific game, but a blessing in a way because it gives you the motivation to try new games. There are some really, really good hidden gems that are available through this app, so don't be afraid to try new games. For me, around checkpoint 9 is when it starts getting very tedious to advance. And after checkpoint 15, there really is no reason to keep playing that specific game unless, of course, you really, really love the game. At the top of the app, there's some things you can click on. You can tap on your bronze, hexagon, the gems. I won't get too much into these, but I do recommend having some understanding of like the daily streak and the sweepstakes. Sweepstakes can also be accessed in the Events tab at the bottom of your screen. With the gems, most methods for earning gems seem to require in-app purchases through the games that you've downloaded through Mistplay. I'm not going to judge you. If you really like the game and want to spend money on it, go ahead. But I've not become convinced from a strictly economic perspective that gems are a good investment strategy. I admittedly have not researched them in depth, so if the comment section fills up with how wrong I am, go ahead and trust the internet people on this one. On the bottom of the screens, you have a Games tab where you go to access your games. How novel. This page opens up for me by default, but in case you ever meander, that's how you get back. There's also a search browse option. It should be self-explanatory. The Events tab is something I do check every day. There's usually one or two tasks that take under an hour to do. They're going to earn you some units. Sometimes one of them is make a purchase. I always ignore those ones. Sometimes it's download a new game and reach checkpoint, whatever. I sometimes do these, but I attempt to be alert enough to not over-download stuff for my phone. This is more of a personal preference, and yours is free to differ. There's also usually a sweepstakes going on. I've never won, but I enter most of them. Sweepstakes usually require 2 actions to gain an entry. Play any or a specific game for some number of minutes, reach a certain checkpoint in a game, or download a new game and play for a certain amount of time or reach a certain checkpoint. It's not limited to these examples, but those are some of the more common sweepstakes entry tasks. This is also my opportunity to share my invite link. Check the description. If you are interested in this app, go ahead and join using my link. I'll be more than happy to receive 100 units passively when you redeem your first gift card. If you're not interested in the app, don't feel like you have to. No, what am I saying? Do it now. Do it now. Okay, I'm very convincing. Ah, the shop. Okay, this is where you go to exchange your units for gift cards. They kept it quite simple and easy to understand. I'm not going to go into too much depth. I think it's mostly self-explanatory. When I've redeemed in the past, they've said it may take up to 72 hours to receive your card. I've only ever used PayPal redemptions on Mistplay, and it's been closer to about 30 hours for the funds to be available. That's from my own personal experience. And I understand their reasons for overestimating the time on a matter like this. Um, it's certainly not instantaneous. Don't expect to have your funds like the moment you redeem. But it's much faster than like even some of your direct deposit transactions from your employer. I do like this app. The redemption process is clear and easy, not confusing at all. It has many gift card options and PayPal as well. While I don't invest as much time into Mistplay as I do with Just Play, my hours spent per dollar earned isn't that bad. It's fun and easy to use. Some of the games are extraordinary. I can see why Mistplay is so popular compared to many of these other payout gaming apps. It has a very solid library. Very solid. Some of the games are fit for modern consoles. They still play all right on a mobile device. I do have a couple of complaints. Recently, I've noticed that many of the event tasks that are time tracked rather than GXP tracked have been getting worse and worse at accurately tracking my time played. This is a bit frustrating as it seems to be a recent phenomenon. Also, an app that can't distinguish 45 minutes from 75% of 30 minutes potentially has some major underlying problems, and I do hope they get this resolved swiftly. But that's not my biggest complaint, which would be the rapidly declining rate of returns on time played as you exceed each checkpoint. In a way, they're training you to like a game that you may not have otherwise explored, but then they reward you less and less for continuing that game. Imagine working for a company that cuts your pay rate by an order of magnitude every paycheck. That's kind of how Mistplay operates. They make it very clear they want you to continuously be downloading more and more games to maximize the monetary incentives of this app. Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention, an observation perhaps. Mistplay doesn't really reward you for in-game success. You get your GXP at the same rate, regardless of how good you are or how far you progress in the game. However, it does seem to recognize how much you are actually interacting with the game. Being engaged with my screen, I'll earn approximately 300 GXP every time period that they calculate your GXP earnings. But if I spend some time idling or thinking about my next move, or if I'm AFK so I can throw something in the oven or whatever the situation may be, I frequently only get like 150 GXP during that same time period. I could be totally wrong, but it just seems like Mistplay is looking for screen engagement time when calculating your GXP earned within a timing period. But the takeaway from this is, yeah, you don't need to be good at the game. You just need to be interacting with it. So give it a shot if you so desire. I skimmed over a lot of topics that could deserve a deeper analysis and skipped a couple of things altogether. But I kind of want to keep these app reviews brief. Many of these apps update so regularly that, like, by the time I even post it, like, you have outdated information. Sometimes they're just doing simple updates, bug fixes, but other times they're doing, like, complete redesigns and making much of this information just obsolete. Or at the very least, not the same. In a way, these reviews are snapshots in time. So if you're watching this in, say, 2027, tell me in the comments how much Mistplay has changed since the time of this recording. Take care, and we'll see you next mission.